Welcome back to the show, Brian Flynn. Look, I'm not ashamed to say one of my heroes, somebody who has done amazing. I know look, what you've accomplished in not just the toy business, but in pop culture and in art. I appreciate what you've done, and I'm always happy to have the opportunity to talk to you.
That's very sweet, and I'm not sure. We'll see. Time will tell. I mean, it was ironic though. I would never be the one to say that, but somebody was talking to me the other day, and we were talking about just 5 POA figures,
Mhm.
and they're like, if you think about all the ones that were made throughout the '80s, you've got about 250 total between Battlestar Galactica and Clash of the Titans and all the stuff. Like, yeah, if you think about true 5 POA, we're not really talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Secret Wars or what, but whatever. And he's like, but you guys have done like 2,000 of them. Like, like you guys have done more and made that more of a thing than even back then. Granted, they sold way more than we are selling. So I
But
don't want to take that, but to say that we repopularized it, I think is a bit of a misnomer because clearly people were interested in it,
yeah.
but bringing it back as a viable form factor to sell again at retail, maybe I can take that credit. I don't know.
Well, I think a huge portion of it is something that I'm sort of recognizing more and more every year is this toys as art.
Yeah.
That I've always felt, and I think we talked about the last time you were on the show, which by the way was almost exactly a year ago, which is wild. Same timing, San Diego
Well,
Comic Con
I,
right up
I get an
ahead.
appointment, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Um, but starting with sort of the designer vinyl toys,
Mhm.
but now with those 5 POA figures with Reaction and even with Reaction Plus, it's the idea that, yeah, this is a great little toy, but also I have this thing that I can put on my wall. Like it
Mhm.
really is. It's I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Whether it's a reaction figure or something like Hasbro putting out these really interesting comic book based paint schemes, which I
Yeah.
can't imagine where they got the idea for that.
Well, we you can say that, but at the same time, they did the comic 2 packs from Shadows of the Empire and everything way back
Yeah, that's
in in
well, and
early
even
2000s.
and yeah, even now that you mentioned that, they did sort of continue that on as a thing, even with the Joe comic book 3 packs that were specifically yeah, good point. I take that back. That's not
So,
you guys.
well,
Forget it.
I'd love to sit here and take credit for that, but no, there's a lot of great people. I think the thing is, you've got most everybody running these toy lines are collectors themselves, and they're excited about that. So everybody's coming up with great ideas. So, but yeah, those Star Wars comic book recolors are awesome.
And whether it's a small independent company where one or two people are doing everything, or somebody like Hasbro, at the end of the day, the people are making toys want to be making toys and are
Yeah,
excited about whatever form factor it is they're making.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I think that's a big part of why, because now, the people our age that grew up with this stuff are getting to make, oh, I wish this had been this when I had it,
yeah.
which we'll talk about a little bit more later.
All right.
But we've got huge news right off the bat. The
I was
timing,
waiting for the lead. I know it's coming. Here we
right?
go.
Well, the timing of this is absolutely wild
The
because
the funny Dave's gonna get the scoop. Here we go. Littlest things first on the scene with the latest news and toy gossip. Here we go.
right. That's how it worked out because we actually set this up a couple of weeks ago, and then
Yeah.
yesterday, I'm scrolling through my internet news and I come across
Yep.
welcome
Jeff.
Jeff Walker, Super
Yeah.
7 CEO.
Yeah.
So let's
This
talk
is
about it.
this is super exciting for me. So obviously Super 7, we've been around 24 years. Next year will be our 25th year. We've been doing this a very long time, and we started out as a magazine, then we started making vinyl, all the stuff. If you're bothering to listen to this, you've heard all that crap before from me, right?
Right.
Um, we've gotten to be a pretty decent sized company, and it's hard to run a big company, and not to sound flippant, but it's not my expertise. My expertise is to really be a toy designer, toy creator, like talk about lines, talk about things I want to make. Just what you were saying, like, oh, I just wanted this or this. What could we be doing? Focusing on the brand, the communication, the experience. Like, what are we doing at Comic Con? All that kind of stuff. But I do everything. And at a certain point, I've never run a business of this size before. I mean, I think that anybody listening probably, there's probably a few that could, but most people are like, I've never run a business of that size either. And it's a lot of work and a lot of expertise. And so really the last couple years, I don't get as much time making and creating as it is just running the business. And I think the CEO title really throws off people a lot, or will. I can already
Yeah.
hear chatter before it even starts, like, "Oh, they had to bring somebody in to do his job for him." And it's like,
Right.
"Oh, the CEO is in charge of the operations."
Yeah.
So, like, making sure the boats show up on time. What are the terms with the factories? Like, what are we doing overseeing finance? All that. I'm not even remotely, arrogant enough to say that I know more than somebody else. Like, I've done a good job of getting us to this point, but there's a certain point where somebody knows more than you do. And you've got to be able to sit down and go like, "Hey, I haven't done this before. Somebody needs to teach me." So really, that's where Jeff comes in. Like, for me to really just get back into like making sure the packaging is top notch, making sure the licenses are top notch, the product is top notch, the paint is top notch, the experience is top notch. What are we doing everywhere? All the things that I think that you love from Super 7, like hopefully, as you were just mentioning GI Joe, like for GI Joe Reaction Plus, people are like, "Oh man, those are great character selections. I love how you're executing this, the card, all the stuff that goes into that." Like, that's really my strongest point. It is not, you know, talking about, insurance renewals
Yeah.
or the warehouse or dealing with HR. And so what Jeff really brings is a really heavy operations and finance background, plus an amazing sort of level of experience. Like, he can pick up the phone and text the CEO of Mattel or the CEO of Hasbro. I can't do that. So, like, if we're trying to work something out, what are bigger long range plans that are maybe happening at a level above just a mere licensor?
Yeah.
And I, for me, the opportunity of what he can bring to us in terms of his experience and vision is really great. So, in my role, how it would be like I really focus on all things sort of product and creative oriented. He focuses on all things business. Technically, as the CEO, my job is to report to his roadmap.
Yeah.
But in his CEO role, he reports to the board, and I'm on the board, so he reports to me in that. It's really designed to be a partnership. Like,
Yeah.
I am not in my best use if it is me chasing down somebody that's net past net 30 on their terms,
Yeah.
or okay, we've got an HR issue with this, or do we need to upgrade the systems on the computers, or NetSuite, negotiating our NetSuite ERP contract, or all the other things that come with that, which I have been in doing, and also we've been leveling up people that work inside of here to do. But I hate to say it's a relief because that makes it sound wrong, but it's really exciting for me to have a partner that I can lean on that understands collecting. Like, he's a diehard comic book collector. He was like, "Oh yeah, I just," he had a couple months off between gigs, and he was like, "Oh, I spent all this time just sending my stuff into CGC to get slabbed." Okay, like, and you get it. He's worked on all these brands before. He's worked on Hot Wheels, and he's worked on, you know, the when we took over Masters, the guy that we got it from was reporting to another guy that reported to him. Like, he's been in this world for forever. So, and he's not under the illusions that, like, hey, if you're a collector company, you're not going to be selling. 10 billion of these things. That's
Right.
not how this works. This works a different way, and this is how you have to come to market. So I don't know. I've rambled a soliloquy here, but I mean, it's really interesting because, like I said, I haven't seen the backlash, but I know the negative press that'll be coming out of it. But it's like no one would sit here and be like, "Oh, they hired a CFO. That's not weird." Of course, I don't know finance like that, and at this point, I don't know operations like that. So I'm super amped to have Jeff here.
Well, it's funny because no matter how transparent you are about things, people are going to make up their own stories. They're going to put their own biases on anything that's happening, and we'll see it in the comments for sure. So
Oh yeah.
let's go, commenters, get us that engagement. We want it. Uh, but when I saw the news, to me on a much smaller scale, one of my ambitions, forthcoming ambitions I've talked about, is I plan to open a store at some point, and I can talk to customers all day long. I can talk to vendors all day long. I want to talk about, hey, I want these records in the store. Bring me your vintage toys, whatever. I can do that all day. But there's administrative aspects of running a store, like insurance and things like that are daunting to me, that I don't want to deal with, because I know, as you said, somebody else is going to be better at that than I am.
Yeah, I
So I
mean, for
get that.
from day one, you're going to hire a bookkeeper most likely
Right.
because
Absolutely.
you need somebody to do that. Like, because that's not your area of expertise, and that's the
Right.
thing. I think it would be arrogant of me, and that's just going to lead to another line of comments,
Yeah.
to assume that I would be the expert in every area.
Yeah.
And but just the same thing, like when you open up a business, like you don't, okay, you think about, well, I got to pay tax, and you have federal tax and you have state tax, but then you start, well, do I have county taxes, do I have city taxes, do I have municipal taxes, do I have business taxes? Like in some cases, like we have to have a tax that's just on your POS system on the table. If you've got that you got to have a permit and a renewal for it. At a certain point, when you get to a certain size, when you're over a certain number of employees, literally you pay a tax on desks and chairs and things. Like, how do you know that that's supposed to be something you're going to do? How do you have the time to do it and fill it? Like, yeah, it's benign, but okay, that's going to take 4 hours to do. All right, well, when do I have time to do that? Like, all those sort of, the business of running the business is what you know is problematic. A mentor of mine, our Sandy Boone, our legal representation, you know, medicine, like 2003. His advice, his first thing, he goes, the biggest uh, crush to small business is success.
Yes.
He's like, that is the hardest thing for small business to navigate, is when it starts working.
One of my current coworkers at my day job, he used to own a pawn shop, and he and his partner went in with expectations of, the size and everything, and within a year had blown up so much that they needed a location 3 times as big as what they currently had, but it wasn't navigable for them to like, they ran into problems because they were growing so fast. Like, they were so successful, they couldn't handle it.
Exactly. And those are the kind of things that people don't really sort of understand. It's like, it's not 1 plus 1 equals 2, it's 1 plus 1 equals 3. It's sort of like if you have kids, like 1 kid is this, but 2 kids is not double the
It's
work, it's
exponential.
triple the work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, to bring it back to yesterday's news
Yeah.
is, I am so pumped to have Jeff here to just really, you know, we were making the joke about him being a Sherpa, which is like, we have great people. What we don't know is the route up the mountain.
Yeah.
Like, help show us where the route is, and then we'll all go up together. That's really what we're looking at. And like I said, I'm pretty pumped up about it.
Well, and I think the point you're at, where anybody in the business knows what Super 7 is all about, so that had to be a huge advantage as far as his familiarity with what you do. It's not like you had to explain, look, we have some niche stuff, we have some niche of niche stuff, but then we've got some huge stuff. Like, he knew coming in what he was getting into.
Yeah, and you have to be excited about what it is.
Yeah.
You have to be into it, right? And he's been around it and he knows what we've done. So it's like, oh, okay. And then now it's like, now if you tweak it this way and you tweak it that way, what can we be doing? What can we be doing better? What are opportunities or different things that we don't even know or think about? It's sort of like without having a map, like which way do you get from one city to the next? It's like, okay, well, I can take this road, but what about that road? What about that road? Well, do those lead to dead ends or do they not? You know, a lot of times it's not flying blind, we're planning and doing the best we can, but there's just at a certain point you exceed your experience and it's time to learn again. And I'm very excited about that.
Well, and also to have another set of experienced eyes that are separate from the creative process is
Yeah.
probably valuable.
Yeah, having somebody to come in and be like, "Look, I know that you're this is not a good example, but I know that you're really hung up on how that thumb holds the gun on GI Joe so it doesn't break, but we have spent 4 weeks on this and we kind of need to wrap this up." You know,
Right, right,
that's
right. Well,
not the proper example
yeah,
because you
no,
can't
no, but
make
I get what you're
broken
saying.
thumbs, but it's the same thing. Or same thing is like, "Hey, I've been down this road that you're going with this retailer before and what they want,
Yeah.
and it has not worked. Or
Mm.
if we tweak it this way, this is what's worked." It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. All
Well,
those things.
it's like having a good editor or producer, somebody that can give input that's a little outside of the process.
Yeah, yeah.
So to get to that creative stuff, to get to your specialty, what you do. So we did this last time, and as a little follow up for anybody that watched, one of the things I recommend. This is Dave's questionable licensing ideas. So last time I pitched, I know Lady Gaga was one of them, and then Shirt Tails
Yep.
was another, which I asked you about at Joe Fest. No progress on Shirt Tails,
Yeah, we're
everybody.
not we're not heading down the shirt tails route right now.
But I've got a couple of new ideas just to
All right.
throw at you.
Here comes Dave's wacky ideas. All right, here we go.
Yes, yes. Number one, The Daily Show reaction figures.
I see people being like, that's neat. Send the JPEG to a friend, but not actually pulling out the wallet for that.
Okay, okay, I like that. All right, next up,
Plus, that's
and
not the
this,
golden era of the Daily Show either. Like you got to have everybody else on there.
but
Like
that's the promise
you
of the
got to have
line.
Colbert, you got to
You,
have this, that.
but
Yeah, you
that's
want to get into wave two. I see what you did.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. You got to save the heavy hitters, you know.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, this one maybe not so much for Americans, but I imagine you'll have a little familiarity with Taskmaster.
Not at all.
Really? Okay. Anybody watching, and also Brian, check out Taskmaster. It is an English television show that is absolutely incredible. It's on YouTube for free. Check it out. All right.
What's the premise?
So the premise is they bring 5 comedians in, and they are assigned to this guy, Alex, who is sitting in Greg's lap. Alex is kind of the mind behind the show, and he comes up with these bizarre tasks like balance all of these penguins on this balance beam, or just bizarre tasks. And they bring in 5 comedians, and over the course of a couple of months, they tape all of these segments. And then the finale is done in studio where they watch them back. They're edited down to be as entertaining as they can possibly be. But essentially, all the tasks are to make everybody as frustrated and feel as foolish as they can. And often there'll be sort of lateral thinking where somebody says, well, wait, if I dump all the penguins in a bucket and put it here, well, then they're balanced, right? It's it's a hilarious, brilliant show. I recommend it to anybody.
Hmm.
But Taskmaster, it's on, like I said, it's on YouTube for free.
All right. I'll
And
check it out.
next one, this one is my heavy hitter. This is my
All right.
big
Here we go.
win. Big Trouble in Little China.
Technically, with Big Trouble in Little China, we did it in the very, very early days of
I've
Reaction
got him. I've got him.
when we were having our production distribution deal with Funko.
Yes.
They're not the greatest figures on earth. They're not the worst figures on earth. They're okay. I would love to do them better. Since then, a couple companies have come back and really done a good job with them at the 7-inch scale.
Mhm.
So then my question would really be, what format do you need those in that you don't have them in?
I think they're made for Reaction Plus. I think
No, okay, okay,
that's what it would have been if they had come out when the movie came out,
right.
and I think that has the because
They should have sat next to the Street Fighter figures.
yes,
All right.
absolutely. Well, I don't know because it would have been, let's see, what was it? It was 86. So it would have been prime Joe time.
Yeah. No.
It would have been right next to the Joe stuff. But yeah, I think Reaction Plus because you need a little bit of action because it's at its heart it's a kung fu movie.
Right.
But that's
But
where I would put that.
but you need Lopan. You
Mhm.
need all the this somebody's gonna get mad at me already. I started to say ninjas and they're not ninjas. They're
The
the winds,
storms,
the
the
storms, the
storms,
winds.
yeah,
Yeah.
thunder, rain, and lightning.
You need thunder, rain, and lightning. You need
You need
Kurt and
the
huh?
Chinese wild man, the
Yep.
monster at the end that comes up out of his truck.
Yep. See, that's the thing is like, how do you yeah, it's like it's
If you can do a
minimum
fatal
6 SKUs.
fluffy, if you can do a fatal fluffy, you can do a Chinese wild man.
Maybe so, maybe so.
So anyway, those are my pitches. Everybody get to work.
Not bad on Big Trouble in Little China. It is a classic film, but it's got a very
Yeah,
finite and exact like people that love it, and then everybody else is like, "I've never seen that movie." Because that
it's
was one of those after school HBO movies
oh
that
yeah,
everybody watched 8 million times, or
yeah.
Showtime or whatever it was.
It is my all time favorite movie. It's got everything. Oh, well, I love John Carpenter, but it's got everything in it. But I think that's the kind of thing that once Reaction Plus has a few more franchises, is established, has people that are collecting Reaction Plus just because it's Reaction Plus. That's when you throw in the Big Trouble in Little China.
Well, let's hope we get there with Reaction Plus.
I think it's got to happen. It's
You think it's gotta happen?
so far so good.
We're very early, so let's
Well,
yeah.
anybody who knows me will tell you my enthusiasm often outweighs my my reality. So,
So does mine sometimes. There you go.
um, one of the initial things that I pitched to you when I said, "Hey, come back on the show," is we need to talk about the Art of Super 7 book.
Yes. So technically that book starts coming out at San Diego, but it really comes out after San Diego Comic-Con. They're gonna have Dark Horse will have some copies at San Diego, but I mean, there's literally one in the other room I could go grab. Uh, but we're recording, right? So we can make a jump cut here, and I can magically then pop one up.
Yeah,
Hold
absolutely.
on, let me go do that real quick.
Okay,
Pow! Look at that.
there it
Special
is.
effects. I went to the other room. Really exciting. Yes, this is the Art of Super 7. It's coming out from Dark Horse, and we got the plastic slipcase there. And this here is the book, The Art of Super 7. And let's see where we're at
Oh
here.
man.
Let me do some, we got the manifesto in here. And then, you know,
And for anybody that remembers, Dark Horse has put out a lot of excellent. They did
yeah,
the
we got
Masters of the Universe
master
books.
stuff,
Yeah, they've done some really nice
great
stuff.
stuff, science fiction, turtles, Iron Giant, RoboCop, Transformers. It's you know little bits of everything in here,
That's beautiful.
and getting all of these licensors, since it's not the unofficial Art of Super 7,
Right.
getting all of these licensors to play nice with each other, to be
Oh,
in the same
wow.
book with each other, is a testament to how much effort that both ourselves and Dark Horse put into this.
Yeah.
Is kind of mind-boggling, but it's super exciting. So right after San Diego Comic-Con, we'll start a big blitz on getting this book out there, doing some book toury type stuff and everything, and really, really great. And the whole team that's responsible, like I said, there's a whole crew of people here that worked on all this stuff over the years, and so really, really cool.
Excellent. So that's basically like the Paul's Boutique of toy company history.
It is every sample known to man. Exactly. Trying to think of just I mean, there's all sorts of. That's a great spread. there's just it's really, really cool.
I just love that you partnered up with Dark Horse because their standards are always very, very high. Always worth the cover price.
There's Beastie Boys for you.
Oh yeah.
See.
Any more Beastie Boys coming?
Yes, actually.
Oh, good news. Okay.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at it and you can't see it, but like there's all sorts of stuff in here.
Such a just breadth of licenses, and again, just the collection of the artwork, because as we've talked about before, one of the big parts of the appeal of Super 7 is the fact that you've got an action figure, but you also have this piece of art with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So this is after San Diego Comic-Con, widely available?
Yeah, I mean, technically, I think you can probably technically order it already, or soon.
I think Amazon's release date is July 22nd. But
yeah, so that's San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So, but because this book has taken much longer to get done than we thought, because of all the complications involved in it, it was still like, okay, no, they're going to be here for San Diego. Awesome. I was like, yes. And all of our signings are completely full and we are booked. So what we're really looking at is sort of post San Diego Comic-Con really starting to do a whole lot of stuff with the book.
Okay, cool.
Talk about it and get it out there. It's going to be super fun. It's a really fun book. It's, I think there'll be a lot of things for a lot of people. That is one of the things we get is like, can we get a book with the artwork?
Yeah.
So
well, that's, I mean,
now we have a book with the artwork.
If you look at Masters Universe, G.I. Joe, like a lot of the toy lines have gotten those books of artwork, and you think, well, it's just the packaging, but it's not. It's so much more than just that.
Yeah.
So rewind. Last episode, I brought something up that we never got back to because we had so much other stuff to talk about. I just want to mention real quick, this set.
Yes.
I finally got to see them live in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my
That's
gosh.
awesome. Was it great?
Good. The band that opened for them is an Australian band called Speed. They were also amazing. But for anybody that doesn't know, this is a great box set that came with reaction figure
and 45 adapter.
And and the adapter. And then a booklet. Like this is such a cool set. And what's funny is I was gonna ask, is there more stuff like this coming? Well, first of all, what went into this one? Like, how did this all come together?
All right. Hold on. We got to shake it out.
Okay.
So with Gorilla Biscuits, those guys are great. And if we go back into my years of punk rock or whatever, I started getting into stuff in sort of 84, really diving in deep by 85. By the time you get to 88, when, the first Revelation releases are coming out and everything, that is the time that you really feel like these are your peers versus like older dudes in the generation before you where you're going to see it. Like Agnostic Front, if you will, if you're talking about New York, like those were older dudes. Those weren't my friends. Those weren't my peers. And obviously my friends had bands, but they weren't sort of like big. But when, especially that Gorilla Biscuits 7-inch came out, not that the other stuff on Rev, almost all those first 10 releases on Rev are all classics. That Gorilla Biscuits 7-inch came out, it really felt like, hey, one of your friends is making it big, even if you didn't know them.
Yeah.
And I didn't know them, but what I was doing in that summer is my friend Chris Janicek was living in Nassau. We had met years before. Our parents are both in the military. We had met at Virginia Beach. I was technically Norfolk. And he had moved to Nassau when I had moved to Florida afterwards, or dad's got moved. So I would go visit him in the summer at Nassau, and we would go into the city, and we would try to go to some records, and we would go to CBGB's, and we'd go to Bleecker Bob's, and we'd go to Venus, and we'd go to all that stuff. And when that's, so we were there when that 7-inch came out, and it was such a thing. Like you were like, oh my God, like not that all the rest of it isn't, but that one just sort of really transcended.
Yeah. Certain stuff just hits you.
Yeah. And so if we fast forward to the summer of 89, Gorilla Biscuits comes on tour through Florida, and that's when I actually meet them, and I met Walter and Siv very briefly, but I mostly talked to Walter at that point. But years later, as we got into making toys and we're making vinyl figures, vinyls plural, vinyl figures, I was thinking about it and I was like, we made fight figures, which are the secret base figures and everything else that we were making. It was like the proportions are basically the same as the Gorilla Biscuits gorilla. And I was like, okay, well, we know that Jordan at Rev and Civ and all those guys collected 12-inch G.I. Joes and Batman stuff. And there were in the early Rev releases, they'd have trade flyers like, send us your old G.I. Joes and stuff. So I hit Civ up, and just said, hey, this is who but it was sort of that same thing. Like if you meet anybody from that era that you grew up in, like you talk to them for 2 or 3 minutes, you're like, oh, I know you. I've known you for 30 years. We just hadn't met. Like you have all the same shared experiences. You have all the same group of friends. You have all the same sort of like point of view. So we started making vinyl figures of the Gorilla Biscuits gorilla. And we've made I think in the end, we made 9 of them, 10 of them. If you count the swirls, I think it's 13. And I was talking to them and I was like, well, what are you guys doing for the anniversary? And they were like, well, what anniversary? I was like, the 7-inch. It's going to be, 30 years. And they're like, I don't know. Not in a weird way. It's just like the label hadn't really thought about that. Nobody had really even brought it up to them.
Right.
I don't want it to make it sound like they were like, I don't know, because it's not that. It's just that it hadn't crossed anyone's mind because not a lot of people at that time were doing anniversary editions of punk rock records. You weren't hearing people going, it's the 25th anniversary of it. It just didn't happen.
And also a lot of times when you're on the inside, you're just not looking at it that way. It's your stuff. So you're not 100%. Thinking about that.
You're like, yeah, we're constantly in this. It's not,
yeah.
You're not taking that pilot's view. So I pitched them the idea of a 30th anniversary box set for the 7-inch. And in what we had already done with Uncle previously,
that's right.
We had done the big drape formed head that had the 7-inch in the figure, and the 7-inch in the figure, because it's Uncle 77. It's not a future appointment. It's Uncle 77 because he has pointy legs. He has to have a stand. And so we're like, we could make the stand the adapter and place it with the record. And we did that. And I was like, why don't we do the same thing for Gorilla Biscuits? We'll repress the single, but with a big hole, because it's never been done with big hole.
Yeah.
We'll make an adapter that's a figure stand, and you put the figure in the center. You can play the record while the figure spins around. And everybody was like, that's a really cool idea. And we did the first pressing. So then I went into the pressings of the record. So the first pressing is the blue leather cover on black vinyl. Second pressing is purple letters with yellow vinyl. Third pressing is red letters with black vinyl. So we did a very small number of the blue ones in a cloth bound book and everything. And we had a show that coincided with New York Comic Con. And those evaporated.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know how many people would care. We had an okay idea, but like people really cared. Mm-hmm. And people were pissed that they missed it.
I remember that's how I heard about it, because I didn't know anything about the release, but I heard about it from the I can't believe I missed this type of thing.
Yeah. And so then, same thing. It's like, my job's I don't want to make it hard or shitty for people. You want people to get excited, but also when you make something, you want the people that were there that got it to also feel special.
Yeah.
So we said, all right, there's a huge demand for this, far bigger than we thought. How do we maybe redo this and repackage this in a way so that everybody can still get it, but make it different? So we play with the idea around the second press and third press of the record. So then instead of making a cloth bound book, we made the slipcase box that you just showed, and we did a purple one and a red one. And one was mostly sold by us and one was mostly sold by Rev. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about the second pressing and the third pressing.
Yeah.
And then we made different colored vinyls for each one. vinyls plural in this case because there were more than one vinyl. Not I collect vinyls. It's like, no, you don't. Vinyl records. Records is pluralized. In this case, we made more than one color of vinyl, so it would be vinyls. But and then we changed the labels too. So the labels, there's different labels on all three of them based on different things that I was looking at. Like one of them, like what does the label on that record look like?
Let's see.
And while we're talking about the label, it comes with a booklet that I worked with Jeremy Dean on.
Booklet's
about
beautiful. It's anything
it's
that
photo of the paste ups and it's stories about the record and everything.
Anything that feels like a zine like this,
Yeah.
I just love any kind of release like that. All right,
There
what are
should
we
be a
looking at?
poster
Let's see.
and then that and then the label on the record.
So this one is
So that one's so that one we took the pattern of the stars is based on the pattern of the stars for the label that was on the New York Hardcore Together 7-inch on the first pressing.
okay.
The one that's on the purple record has like a gorilla head off to the side, and then the type and the way it's arranged, and those are arranged just like the old James Brown 1970s singles, where it would have his head and it would say Godfather of Soul.
Yeah. Oh,
so
that's
it's a
beautiful.
reference to that. So, we were making these different references to different things on the labels itself too. So, and yeah, they were really cool and really fun. Unfortunately, what happened a little bit in the beginning was then everybody thought they were going to be. We made more of them too, so everybody could get one. So then you had all these guys that tried to buy 10 at a time so they could flip them. Right. And then, oh wait, they're all on eBay, and it's like, well, just cool out. We made enough, and then you have to wait for prices to come down so everybody can get one.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to pay secondary market prices. But that was super fun. So in that, you said, well, is there anything like that? Something got teased yesterday that is right in there. There you go. This is the same. So
I almost missed this morning. I was looking through stuff and I was like, wait a minute. What do we have here?
What do we have here? So I think I was sort of hinting at this to some people at Joe Fest, where I was like, there's gonna be some cool stuff around Cold Slither, but I can't talk about it yet.
Yes.
So obviously, Reigning Phoenix has really worked with Hasbro to put together Cold Slither, the band, and putting it all together. They're having the live show. They've recorded a full album.
Yeah.
And so we were like, oh, this is a really cool thing to do. Like, we should press records and we'll make it. So the team came up with this idea of like the road case. So the box set at this point looks like a road case. Mm-hmm. It comes with a tour poster, which is what you see in the back. Like, it's sort of obscure, but it has like tour dates and all sorts of other stuff on it. It has a whole set of like guitar picks from the band. The 7-inch is in this case the black and white zebra splatter, and then you get a Zartan. There's also actually a Cold Slither Dreadnoks 45 adapter for him to stand on.
Oh, nice.
And so he can stand on it while you're playing the record.
Right.
And so maybe I'm giving away too much here. So they're super limited because it's crazy. And there's 3 box sets.
Oh, okay.
There's 3 box sets. And there are different songs in each box set.
Oh my gosh.
So this black and white zebra is exclusive to Reigning Phoenix. And they'll be at booth 4029. I think it's next door to Stern Pinball. And then there is a God, I'm living in next year right now. I'm trying to remember all 3. So there's the zebra for Reigning Phoenix. Crap, I'm forgetting what the other one is that's our exclusive. And then Big Bad Toy Store will have one that is in traditional Zartan sort of purple and green colors.
Oh.
And but ours is but they're all sort of rock and rolled out, like it's all like Zartan in crazy 80s colorways. The zebra stripe being the most dramatic.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like, this is going to be fun, and it's, if you've got your Zartan from Cold Slither, that's what he looks like on screen. You've got your Zartan.
Yeah.
If you're into it and you think this is fun and you want to hear the new songs, then you can get these Zartans in other colors. But you don't have to have them to be complete in your collection.
Well, and that's what we've talked about this tons and tons on the show over the years. What makes a great exclusive is something that is really fun and creative, but not necessary.
Yes.
And like all of the songs are going to be, if you don't get these sets, they're available in other formats. Like you can get the record,
you'll be able to
you
stream
can,
it, you'll be able to do whatever.
right. It's out there, but this is just a special, because how I came around to this, because I used to get really, and I'm talking like 15 years ago, I used to get really bent out of shape about exclusives. And then I kind of had this revelation, because like I enjoy getting autographs, but I enjoy getting them. I'm not going to go online and buy an autograph. Like, I want to be there, and if I'm not there, then it doesn't mean anything. And it kind of clicked, like, well, wait a minute. If it's an event exclusive, if I wasn't there, then it's not for me anyway. Like, I don't have the connection to it, so it shouldn't be as important to me as a collector, just for my personal stuff.
Yeah. If it was the only place we ever made Zartan, that would not be, Cold Slither Zartan, that would not be cool.
Yeah.
But if it's like, oh, I already have the regular version, but I'm really into it and I think this is super fun.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another one I can get. And you don't need to get, there's going to be people that want all three.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's also going to be a lot of people that like, one is cool for me. And there's a lot of people that are like, how much? I don't care about the record. I don't care about the guitar picks or the thing. I just, I'm okay. I've got my regular Zartan. I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I always try to make the San Diego stuff super fun, super exciting, but not something that's essential to collecting the line. So if we're talking about the other two G.I. Joe exclusives, they are, the Time Bomb Cobra Bat.
Right. Which is cool, but is not a...
But you've already got a Cobra Bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Deke Serpentor, which is awesome, but you've got Serpentor.
You've got Serpentor. So if you're like, no, I always wanted one that was colored like this, we got you. Right. But if you're not, it's cool. You don't need it that way.
And times are a lot different. Years and years ago, the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive meant just that. Now, they go for sale online later. It's getting them is a different proposition from what it used to be.
I mean, every year it's a different minefield of how you manage it. And you try to, we want everybody to be able, we want to make it special, but I also don't want it to make it difficult. It's like, that's that fine line, but it's not going to be just like, oh, I don't want your San Diego Comic-Cons to end up on clearance.
Yeah.
So how do we find that fine line, and how do we manage it as a collector, and how do we make it fun? I mean, that's really what I come back to when I look at these things. A lot of other people might be like, oh, but you're making this hard on me and you're punishing your collectors that aren't there. And it's like, I'm trying to make this as fun as possible. And it is a special moment, and we all know it is. Like, San Diego Comic-Con is not like anything else in the world. So like, this is our time to live it up. This is our Super Bowl. So what are we doing? So
I'll just say for almost any San Diego Comic-Con exclusive now, and certainly for the past 5 years, if you're paying attention, you can get it. That's how I feel about it. Well, let's talk about some other sort of current stuff that's out. We've got just some cool stuff I want to show the people if they're watching that maybe they have or have not seen. First up, Glow in the Dark is always going to be my sweet spot. Glow in the Dark Mars Attacks. It was a no-brainer.
It is, and it's interesting. Like, we've really had surprisingly, we've been making Mars Attacks for a long time. In the last year and a half, the demand has been much stronger than in the past for Mars Attacks. Like we keep sort of remaking the Ultimate, and the sales are like trending upwards. And you're like, this is years later. What's going on? So we're like, let's lean in. But at the same time, you can look at this, and if you know Japanese vinyl, you can look at that and go, wait, that colorway, we're totally pulling from our Japanese vinyl roots. It looks amazing here, and you might not know, but the glow in the dark with the fluorescent green and fluorescent pink, that's full blown like kaiju, like spray
Yeah.
inspired. So we're trying to, like, what's really cool that we do over here, can we put it over here? Like peanut butter and chocolate, we're making Reese's peanut butter cups.
And this is the kind of stuff where you guys are really getting me, and we'll in just a moment here, we'll have another example of that. I want to talk a little bit about the whole concept of the ultimates. At one point, I think you stated we talked about earlier. I had this when I was a kid, but I wish it had this articulation. And when Super 7 first shared these Ninja Turtles, my thought was, oh, I really like the current Ultimates articulation. I don't know that I want more, because I'm not always a fan of double jointed everything. I really like the Ultimate aesthetic. But then I realized the kids, like my son, that grew up with these toys originally, wanted them to be like Marvel Legends with the double jointed knees and elbows and everything else. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, there's a whole other generation that are now getting, oh, I wish this is what it had been.
Yeah. And so you hit on exactly why this particular line switched to double joint. So with everything else, if you go back to when we really started the Ultimates line and we talk about Masters of the Universe, then we move into Thundercats, we move into Silverhawks, and it expands along the way with Conan and different things, but especially those cartoon accurate ones. It's like the point of the line is when you put them all out on the shelf, they all match, they all hang together. So, it's the same thing, changing the articulation pattern at this point, they don't match anymore.
Right.
Like, the OCD in me is like, they don't, and I've had enough conversations where people agree or disagree with me about the aesthetic that I'm looking for within those, especially the cartoon accurate. But when we talked about the Turtles, you're talking about a 2000s line, 2003, is that the customer that's really looking at this nostalgia based right now, they never had a single jointed toy. So to show up with single joints at that point for that person makes they're just going to be like, this, I don't understand. Sort of like if I made a reaction figure, if I was making a reaction figure of, I don't know, what's against Star Wars, you wouldn't put multi-articulation in it, but still keep it's sculpted like 5 POA. Wait, these things don't match. And so really with this line, and Kyle and everybody else that worked on this did a phenomenal job, is that how do we mesh what we do with Ultimates, one, really making it look screen accurate in that flat minimal styling, and also still incorporate additional articulation. And that's a really fine line that you have to walk, that you go back and forth, and they did a great job on this. So immediately there was a whole group of people who were like, cool, we're going to get double joints and everything. It's like, I use what pops into my mind immediately is that scene from Ted Lasso where they're talking about Jamie about being an asshole.
Oh, yeah.
You mean I got to go back to being an asshole? It's like only when it is appropriate.
Right.
And so in this case, double jointed makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When it is appropriate. Like if I am at wave 12 and wave 13 of Thundercats and every figure is single jointed, it is not appropriate, I don't think, for me to change that at this point.
I would have been so mad.
What's that?
I would have been so mad at that. That would have ruined my day.
So I don't think it's appropriate for here, but especially as we get into younger licenses or a new license that we're starting from the ground up, that's not meant to match. Like, quite frankly, that Thundercats, like if you collect Thundercats, you collect Masters. If you collect Silverhawks, you collect Thundercats.
Right.
Like those all need to hang together. So those are focused. But like, as we go into newer lines that we haven't done, like we're definitely going to be using double joints when appropriate.
Well, if you
So
were, in theory, if you were to do the I can't remember what year it was, the more recent Thundercats series.
yeah, if I was doing the reboot, yeah, then double jointed would make sense.
Yeah. And that's where this is how picky I can be, is looking at these turtles aesthetically. I couldn't, even if these had standard ultimate articulation, I couldn't put them on the shelf next to my other turtles because the art style doesn't go.
Right. They don't match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So very excited about this line, and very excited about just the continuation of generations of collectors.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got one
Because
question about this guy. Already ordered him, coming no matter what. But is this the first Papa that has nothing going on under the robes?
when you mean just
Well, the
he's
other
smooth,
ones have had like a robeless suited look, and this one hasn't been shown without the robes.
I think it's going to be very difficult to get all the robes off of this guy at this point. Um, no, I think he's got the suit on underneath.
Okay. That was all I had for that. Glad the Ghost partnership is continuing.
Yeah, yeah. And this new look that they have is so crazy
Oh
and
yeah,
so
well, it's so
elaborate.
toyetic, like all
Uh,
the skeletons. Oh, it's beautiful.
yeah,
These guys just are, I believe, are
they're
just now starting to hit.
yeah, they're shipping as we speak. Yeah,
And I had not, just because you can't collect everything,
no.
I hadn't ordered these, but my gosh, they look so good. This comic booky look just looks so good. I think you got me.
Yeah, I mean that this is kind of and once again, like how this one is specifically that why the Conan is articulated the way he is that we have done a Barry Windsor Smith Conan way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So these family with that original Barry Windsor Smith Conan. And so, okay, what did we do there? What are we doing here? If you're joining these together, I don't want them to not match. I want them to match.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going on here. But yeah, the comic Conan, and then within Conan, you got Kull, which is, most people are like, oh, I kind of remember Kull, but Kull was around for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's some crossover there. So we just thought it'd be really cool because I don't think anybody's ever made Kull before.
And for anybody watching or listening, Kull the Conqueror, don't check out the movie. Do check out the comics.
Yes. That's fair in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. All right, these guys. So this is where you got me, because I am addicted to these things. I don't know why
Every
they're so eminently collectible, because I'm typically averse to blind box stuff. But if
yes,
I go into, I think Target is where the Shogun ones are showing up.
I think so.
Um,
No, I think
is it
Walmart's got
Walmart
some
also?
Shoguns.
Okay.
Yes.
But I just got to grab a couple, because, well, one, the price point, $15 is essentially now the impulse buy price point. And they're just, I mean, if you can see, this is glittery orange. He's got this is
Yeah.
genius. The fact that you actually did the spring-loaded atomic breath
Yeah.
is wonderful. But my question was, so this is the third wave of Shogun, the ninth wave of Toho
Yes.
blind
Blind.
boxes. So this one's available on the website right now. Are these also headed to retail? Because I haven't seen anything
Yes.
about that yet. They
There
are?
are some that are headed to retail.
Okay.
Uh, I think with the Shogun, it's super interesting because it's one of those things where, like, obviously, a lot of people have a soft spot for that toy and that
Yeah.
sculpt. Like, that's their Godzilla, even though technically it doesn't even look like Godzilla.
Right.
If you really take a step back, you're like, that sculpt has nothing to do with any suit. And
But it's a
that
toy. It's a toy.
it's a toy. But it's literally like sort of like this is the third wave of blind boxes of just Shogun Godzillas. Plus, we've done quite a few beforehand.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like this one gets out and everybody's just like, cool, where's the next? So this sculpt has really sort of transcended sort of like I collect Godzilla toys into just like I love that sculpt and I like having lots of them and please give me more. And it's like, okay, well, but at the same time, I don't want to take advantage, but if you keep asking,
Yeah.
then yeah, we'll make some more. But I'm always nervous that okay, you've I don't want to get to the point where you're like, hey, you've milked that too far. But at the same time, it's even with this one, and people are like, cool, when's the next one? I'm like, dude, these just came out. They're like, yeah, and
It's I think as long as you keep coming, it's again, it goes back to that art thing, is it's just interesting to see how many different color combinations, paint applications, whatever, how many different ways can you paint this? And I also think, as you said, that original Shogun Warriors Godzilla, I would go so far as to say that and that one rubber Godzilla toy.
oh yeah, the Imperial.
That, yes, that's at every yard sale you ever been to. I would go so far as to say those might be two of his most iconic looks.
Well, and did you see years ago we did the Imperial recolor of the
Yes.
Godzilla, the
Yes.
84, and it's like you make it you big red lips on it and the
I love it.
green with the black spray,
Mhm.
and it's like, it's like, yeah. And for the next generation, which it's always funny to me, the next generation feels the same way about the Trendmasters Godzilla. They're like, Space Godzilla is that movie poster color.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I remember when those came out because I was actually actively collecting toys at that point. I'm like,
Mhm.
these colors aren't even right. And, but for the kids that were younger than me, they were the exact opposite. They were like, this is rad.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they're not wrong.
it's like growing up with Han Solo's blue Hoth jacket.
Yes,
You're like, what is this brown nonsense?
100%. That jacket is blue.
Right.
That
Uh,
jacket is blue.
we got just a couple more to speed through. I want to make sure, first of all, have we got a little bit more
We
time?
got
Do we need to
we're
wrap
good.
things
We're
up?
good. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we've got Turn of the Living Dead blind boxes, which is another one you got me on because the blind box is the trioxin canister.
Yes. Yeah. And it's the same thing. It's like, how do we make this more fun?
Mhm.
How do we do this? Like, oh, we were talking about it, and we're like, we went through, and trust me, went through a lot of iteratives of what it could be, trying to get it to be the canister, uh, and where we ended up. But it's the same thing. It's like, okay, how do we make this more fun? Like, and this is that fine line where we're right now in a zone of collecting where even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, anybody that's still collecting, I assume, have been collecting for a decade plus at this
Yeah,
point.
I think
And
so.
you remember a time when they weren't making that much stuff. So you bought everything that came out. And that was the only way you could go about it. And, if you were a completist mindset, you had to have one of everything. But it was very fine. The rules of who was bought and what you could buy and who collected it were very finite.
Mhm.
And we're at a place now where it's much more fuzzier. There's more lines. If you've heard me say many times, there's more toy lines
Yeah.
in more scales at better quality made of everything you can imagine than ever before in the history of toys. And so when you get into this thing, like the idea though that reaction figures could now literally become sort of more of a fun thing to collect rather
Yeah.
like here's the thing on card that makes me feel like I'm 8 years old again. But then there's this whole other way to experience the same product where this is just fun and playful. And oh, I'm getting to open the canister and which
Yes.
one did I get?
Yep.
Like that level of it's fascinating to me, not in a weird way or a surprise way, but just like we don't all have to collect the same way we've all been collecting for the last 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. Like if I made another carded Return of the Living Dead figure at this point, would you need it? Maybe not. But
Depends on
now
who
that
it
I'm
is.
doing it this way, it's fun again.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it. And it's even more affordable.
Well, and like you said, it's fun again, and you're getting a toy. You're
Yeah.
getting an experience as opposed to just a man that's beautiful on the wall.
Yeah.
Like it's a
And there's
different
nothing
level.
wrong with either one of those, and
No,
you can
no,
have
no. It's all
both of
valid.
them at the same time.
Look, I looked up at him earlier. This guy, Fatal Fluffy, in a
Yeah.
case on the wall. I've also got one open, but it's just two different fun experiences. It's just different levels of reward out of them. You brought up a really good point about everything under the sun has been licensed. Is it available in different scales or whatever? Imagine 30 years ago if you found a Return of the Living Dead figure in Toys R Us and you didn't really care for that form factor, having the luxury of thinking, well, somebody else will probably make it within a year or two in a form factor I like. Like that's where we're at now.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's
Or just that
crazy.
if somebody would have told you even 20 years ago, like you'll be able to get figures from Return of the Living Dead and Halloween and Nightmare Before Christmas and this and that,
At
like you'd be like,
Target.
what? No.
Not even like boutique, but at Target. It's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. It's great.
So Amazon exclusive,
Amazon exclusive Thunder
toy
Tank
version.
toy version.
So have you had an Amazon exclusive before? I can't remember.
We've had a couple Amazon exclusives before in the Fun line.
Okay.
So we've done a couple fun exclusives for them. So with Amazon, I won't get into the nitty and the gritty of whatever it was, but in the early days of the COVID era, obviously, everybody got shellacked quite a bit. So what had happened is a couple. How do I frame it correctly? A couple customers that we had started having a lot of difficulty with their business and canceled a bunch of their Thunder Tank orders and left them at the port.
Yeah.
So we were like, what are we going to do with these Thunder Tanks? We've got quite a large bit of them that were pre-bought, not prepaid, but pre-bought, pre-sold,
Right.
and we manufactured to order these extra. Long story short, Amazon showed up and said, all right, we'll buy those Thunder Tanks.
Okay.
Amazon did really well with them.
Mm-hmm.
Not surprisingly so, but did really well with them. And they've been pushing us since that time. So now 18, 24 months, like, hey, when do we get more Thunder Tanks? We want more Thunder Tanks. And we're like, we think we've satiated the demand for Thunder Tank. No. We know who our customer are. We want more Thunder Tanks. We want more. So finally we were talking to them and we're like, all right, how do we make it different than what we've already done? And not everybody needs 2 Thunder Tanks, right? We've got to be, they're expensive vehicles. They're big, so we're like, all right, we'll do one, but let's make it different. We'll make it the toy recolor. And it's back to that same thing of like it being a non-essential part of the line. There's a group of people that will be psyched and really want it and love it. There'll be some people that missed the first one and go, but this is the one I had as a kid and I always really wanted it in that color. And then we're like, well, what else can we do? Because, when we made it back then, it cost X, it costs more to make now, and you've got tariff on top of it and blah, blah, blah. And then we've been working on Panthro as well. Just like we redid the Lino, we've been working on redoing Panthro. So we're like, all right, we'll throw in a recolored toy version of Panthro as well to help sort of like make it a little bit cooler for that person that wants it. And this just came out. I think this just got released a couple days ago for sort of pre-bookings.
Yeah.
But they're actually already on boats.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The Thunder Tank will be shipping, I believe it's late August, early September, because they're already leaving the factory and on the way. So it's not a run like the original run was. It's a much smaller run, but but once again, it's like we agonized a little bit about it because you have We don't want to feel like we're bleeding people. We don't want to get over our skis. We know there's some people that want it, but not. But you also have a retailer that's like, look, I know my customer,
Yeah.
and this is what I'd like. So at a certain point, it's not that you acquiesce, but you agree that, much like we're talking about the CEO, that somebody might know something you
Right.
don't know.
Right.
Okay, great. Let's try and let's see. And I don't know. I think it turned out pretty rad,
I think it
personally.
looks awesome. I haven't dipped into the LJN Thundercats only because I didn't have them when I was I loved the cartoon, but I never had any of the toys. So the Ultimate
Yeah.
Thundercats, that's my jam, and that's the Thunder Tank I got. But if I had not gotten that one, this one, you had talked in other interviews. I think it might have been with I feel bad I cannot ever remember his name. We Want More Thundercats.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Eggman.
Yes, yes. I feel like it might have been talking to him where you mentioned that once people got the toy colors in hand, they realized like the nostalgia hit differently.
It
That it
did.
was this whole other experience from getting the cartoon looks that it was like, oh my gosh, but this is the
This
toy
is
I have.
my version of Thunder.
Yes, right, right.
This is the thing I always wanted, but then I got the toy one in hand, and I'm like, now I'm actually 5 again.
And I would go so far as to say because of that collection and those coming out that this Thunder Tank is definitely something that should have been done because that to me, and the toy line went beyond that, but that's that centerpiece. That's that for those that are hardcore into getting those LJN versions, I think you gotta have that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you've got probably a full day ahead of you. I've
I
just got a
do.
few Q&A things here from our listeners. If we can run through some questions,
Let's knock them out.
and
Let's go.
we'll call it a day. All right. This is actually from Christian from Audible Interlude. Uh, any news on the Dungeons and Dragons Ultimate line?
Well, Tiamat is the main news,
Yes.
and Tiamat will be. It is shipping really soon, like in the next couple weeks ish. So it's slated to ship out to customers sort of first week of September.
Okay.
So you should be getting Tiamat really soon. I think that's really the next big piece, and then we'll sort of see. Unfortunately, I'll say that that line as a whole just has not been received super great.
Yeah.
Um, Part of it was I think that just there's only so many people that were after it, and the Hasbro line sort of satiated some of that demand. I
Yeah.
think, we did some really great figures, and I think that they really stand on their own. But at the same time, like when we did the glow in the dark Dekion, people it kind of went out there where people were like, like okay, like if there's I think it just has not really resonated as well. What I want to make the rest of the kids, I want to make Venger, I want to make Venger's horse, I want to make Venger's
Oh my
sister, I want to
gosh.
make all
Yeah.
sorts of people. But it just really hasn't turned the corner the way we would like yet.
Mm.
That doesn't mean that it's dead, because there's been a couple lines before where it's sort of like what we talked about with Mars Attacks. Like all of a sudden, a couple years later, we can't keep Mars Attacks in stock. You're like, what's going on? So I'm really hoping that once Tiamat shows up, that it starts to really get people to be like, okay, I'm more invested in this line now.
And that's possible because again, going back to sort of the centerpiece piece theory, once they have that Tiamat, they're like, oh man, people are going to see that start to hit and get, because there's just something different about even if you don't get it in hand, seeing somebody who has it in hand, it's exciting. It's, oh
Yeah.
man, now I need one of those. And where are the rest of the figures?
Right.
And then this is not a question. This is just Reaction Plus Universal Monster Series 2 Metaluna Mutant. Let's go.
No, Metaluna Mutant is not in Series 2.
Clean answer. I love it.
Clean answer. Now, 3, I don't know, but 2, it is not in 2. There's some very obvious misses for Wave 2.
And then everything else is very G.I. Joe focused, which is appropriate because
All right,
that's,
here we go. Let's do it.
it's time. I had a question about the mothership return. However, you addressed that in the Joe Fest panel, which is available here on the Needless Things YouTube channel. So I think people should go check that out if they want an answer.
Oh, look at you promoting the other videos.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I'd love to bring it back. I would be nervous about bringing it back, but we'll just see how Joe goes and see what the demand is. I mean, it would be an amazing ship to have.
Yeah. That's I was just looking at I think I put one. Yeah. There it is. For anybody watching, take a look. Think about
I
what
mean,
could be.
it's a playset masquerading as a spaceship.
Right. Which is what and people talk about play sets all the time, whether it's with reaction or classified or whatever. Beautiful. All right. With Ultimate slowing down, have there been thoughts about doing one-offs like Firefly, for example, as exclusives with Hasbro Pulse?
We've been talking to Hasbro Pulse, and we've done a few exclusives with them. We did the red snake armor that was a Hasbro
Yeah.
Pulse UK exclusive. We did a triangle box metallic Power Ranger ultimates or deluxes for Hasbro Pulse. We talked to them about a bunch. I mean, more than anything, with Hasbro Pulse, it's just sort of like uh, what exactly the person running it has changed a few times, and therefore
Right.
the strategy changes a few times. Not in the case of a negative thing. It's just, all right, hey, we're going to be really focused on this. Okay, well,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever you're going to work on, you're working on it for a year out. So then it's like, okay, hey, we're going to change gears a little bit. All right, we haven't started this. Let's do this instead.
Right.
All right, well, then that pushes it out. Like, but yeah, we would love to do more with Hasbro Pulse, and we've got a few things sort of in the hopper. We'll sort of see how it all comes together.
Cool. Cool. And then this one I absolutely loved because it goes back to our blind box talk. With the popularity of the various blind boxes, is this something we could potentially see down the line for Reaction Plus troop builders? For example, Cobra Troopers in different skin tones and colors. I love this.
I think you're I think we how do I phrase it? We've got some ideas that are maybe parallel, but not
Okay.
exactly how you're explaining it. But
Sure.
like there's an idea around what we're trying to do with troop building, and there's an idea around what we might think about with blind boxes.
Okay.
And so it's not that version, but there's a thing that we're talking about with like how do we help out the troop builder, and then how do we think about maybe a blind iteration on GI Joe.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Well, that's even better news.
But yeah,
Twice as much good
neither
news.
of them are on the calendar. So let me
Sure.
just
Sure.
frame it that way.
Yeah, well, but it's always good to hear because you often will say, "Believe me, we've thought about it," and it's good to hear that. It's good to know like we're on the
Yeah,
same
I
wavelength.
think I think that the troop builder is a very specific group of people that are very into it, and that if you talk about blind box, it's generally much more of a fan and more of a general customer. Collectors also
Uh,
buy them, but it's much more general. So if it was nearly as specific of like, hey, we're just gonna make, like blue shirts, like that does like if you're a guy walking into a store that's like, oh, I remember G.I. Joe, that was fun. Like it's a blue shirt. Like, are you gonna buy that? Nah, probably not.
yeah, yeah,
But but there's another person who's like, I need a blue shirt and I want to army build them. So how do we help that person
right.
in a different way? So we got thoughts and ideas on that. They're not 100% baked on the schedule, but what's really great about San Diego is I get to talk to all my retail partners in person and talk about things like that. So
So somebody is going to say yes to that Viper multi pack from the
yeah.
mothership. That's got to happen. All right, let's see. From our pal Brett White, what's the future of the Joe's reaction line?
Right now, there's not a lot happening with the Joe reaction line simply because Reaction Plus has been received extremely well, which we kind of expected. And there's a little bit of like, well, how much Joe can we put out at any one given time? I really enjoy the reaction line.
Yeah.
We have a lot of unreleased sculpts in reaction that we kind of were like, because it was
Oh,
slow. It was Joe in reaction was slowing down toward the end, anyways, of what we were making. I say to the end, before Reaction Plus launched,
right.
and so there was a whole wave of figures that hasn't come out. But it was like as it slowed down, but we had Reaction Plus coming in. they started to cross over, and it was like, well, this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to bring out now because we've got this one coming out. We don't want to compete with each other. And so there are stuff that we've got and stuff that we're talking about, and that I would like to see come out. But I think right now, at least for most people, their interest is solidly on Reaction Plus. And I don't think we want to confuse, it's confusing for people already of like, what's the difference between Reaction and Reaction Plus? And they look very similar on card versus where the bubble is and does it have a white border or not, kind of thing. So I would love to get back to doing some of them, but I think it's going to be intermittent when we do, because right now, what the G.I. Joe collectors for the most part are telling us is this is what they want.
Yeah. Well, and have been waiting for since you guys got the license. That's what we've all wanted.
Yeah.
From Tom Lazit with we've only got two more. With the craziness going on, are you able to plan releases long term, or is there a degree of flying by the seat of your pants? And this again goes back to that Joe Fest panel where you talked about having Cold Slither in the works, and then things kind of changed.
Well, I guess with the craziness, he would have to define which version of craziness.
Right. There's so much craziness. I guess he's probably talking about tariffs, also talking about Hasbro changing their mind from time to time, being a factor, just all the things.
Let's first talk about Hasbro changing their mind, whatever. Hasbro owns this.
Right.
It's not so much that they're changing their mind. It's their thing. We get to show up and hang out. So when they are like, hey, I know you were planning to hang out at this party till 10, but the party's stopping at 9. We can't be like, man, they didn't let us stay till 10. It's like, party's stopping at 9. Cool, we're going to go.
It's your party.
And we'll come to the next party. Please invite us.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make it seem like that at all. And some things like Cold Slither are really great. Like they leveled Cold Slither up to a place that we could never do.
Right.
And this is a pretty impressive rollout with the concert, with the record, with the figures that they've got, with the box set that we've got. Like all of a sudden, if you were like, man, it'd be really cool if they did Cold Slither, you're getting more than you ever could have imagined from Cold Slither. So it's got to be pretty awesome.
And that's the power of Hasbro being behind
100%,
it.
100%.
And it goes to that rising tide lifts all boats. Everybody will benefit.
And so I don't want there to ever be a perception that there's an us versus them in this regard.
Right.
It's a them.
Yeah.
And we get to hang, and ideally, because they're good people, we're working together and collaborating and making cool stuff. But we're there to support G.I. Joe. So if you talk about that, we're making our G.I. Joe that supports what they're making for G.I. Joe. They're making this Cold Slither to support the G.I. Joe brand as a whole. And then the G.I. Joe brand then goes up into movies or whatever, which makes it so that it keeps moving forward so that more people can get into G.I. Joe, so that all of this stuff can keep churning. Like it's all part of the big thing. So I want to be very clear on that. But if we're talking about like the chaos and everything, it's like, the chaos, like, we still don't have a resolved tariff for China. And even then, Vietnam was announced at 20%, then got announced at 25%.
Right.
If we talk about China, it was 10%, then they added 20 to 30, then it went to 145. Now it's back to 30, but August 1st is when it's all theoretically expiring. He hasn't threatened China right now, but we don't know. Like, is it going to be 30%? Is it going to be more?
August 1st is when it'll get rolled back another 30, 60, 90 days or whatever.
Well, and if it does, so be it. But it's like, we have to go forward in the future, assuming that we're paying 30% on every single thing. Like literally, I got sent a thing this morning by Michael Gullen that worked on a lot of our G.I. Joe stuff, where it was a guy from, I'm a blank on what toy company. It wasn't Just Play. It was somebody else that was talking. It was the guys that make Tonka. There's a group above them that make the label of Tonka, and they were talking about prices of like cars that they made. And they were like, they were saying, oh, are you moving from country to country? And he's like, there's no economic value to move country to country right now.
Because you don't know.
If Vietnam's 25% and China's 30%, but my supply chain is perfected in China, you stay in China. Like there's no place to move it per se.
Yeah.
And then secondarily, like, yeah, coming this fall is when all the prices hit because the stuff has to be made and shipped here. So he's like, yeah, that toy that was $24.99 from us before is either going to be $29.99 or $34.99. And we don't really know yet until it lands. But it will be happening. And I think people will start seeing, you'll start really seeing it at the September reset. Yeah. So for those of you, September is when Target and Walmart reset their shelves. And when you see those shelves, that's when you're going to start seeing prices coming up because, and he talks about the same way, like the tariff happens when it hits the port and it's not a bill that you get. They take the money. So if I had $1 million, his example in this article was if I had $1 million in inventory showing up at the port, I know I have to have $300,000 waiting. So it actually cost me 1.3 when it lands. And he goes, and that, like nobody has it in their P&L to absorb 300,000 extra dollars.
And right now,
it's just going to get passed along.
And right now, you don't even know if it's going to be $300,000.
I think we've talked about this, and other people have said it's like when they did 10%, you were grandfathered with anything on the water. When they did 30%, you were grandfathered with anything on the water to the old tax rate. When they went to 145, there was no grandfathering.
Yep.
And I had stuff queued in the ocean to come into port. So a week after we went to 145 is when 2003 turtles hit the port. And I had a $498,000 tariff bill that I had to pay. And a week prior to that, I didn't know that. So if you got $500,000 laying around, call me. But like I got to go figure out where I'm going to find $500,000.
Right.
Like that's the, and then back to our CEO discussion.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So, but that's the thing is no one knows. We're planning to the best of our ability, assuming that this is the new ground rules, but we don't know.
Yeah, that's my wife is in import-export business, and she just keeps sending me the email. All of these exporters, like every day, are sending updates on, well, now it's this. We don't know what we're going to do here, but we will let you know that it's just nuts. And and I don't want to get too deep into it because people get upset with me when I get too much into the politics. But I mean, tariffs are a real thing that are affecting everybody.
But it's just factual.
Well, I tend to follow up tariff talk with other talk. Okay. So we'll avoid that here. Well, that is. Oh no, wait, we had one more, but I'm going to refer everybody once again back to that Joe Fest video because the question was
my Joe Fest video where I was like, I can't really tell you everything anymore,
but it
hasn't been announced yet.
But it still ended up being an interesting conversation. So this was from Jesse Gilmore. Any chance we will see vehicles with Reaction Plus, which I think is probably just an ongoing thing for anything G.I. Joe.
It's an ongoing discussion. I mean, there are a couple things. I don't remember exactly what I said back then, but it's like we got one thing though we have one vehicle that we've sculpted. I'm just very nervous about paying for the tooling and if we can sell enough.
Yeah,
that's not the mothership. There's another one that we've made where I'm like,
oh man,
good work.
Well, there you go.
But it's a lot, and most everything's been made.
I think what we always talk about on the show, because we do sort of a missing in action segment where we talk about things from the comics or cartoons that never made it into the toy line. And that's where we kind of get excited. Like there's a helicopter in Deke, a Cobra helicopter that was never made as a toy. And it's just this really cool, sleek design. And then the Aspid that was in the comics and the cartoons, that Cobra cargo thing.
Yeah.
That's where we tend to go with that kind of stuff. But it's a matter of, kind of like the mothership. It's the matter of picking the thing that's iconic and familiar enough that immediately says G.I. Joe and doesn't look like some designer just pulled this out of their ass and put camouflage on it,
Right. Did I freeze or you freeze? Oh, there we go.
Oh, Did somebody freeze?
So you froze for a second, but
we're pushing up against the time limits of Atlanta, San Diego time. So with that, Brian, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Yeah,
always a great time talking to you. San Diego Comic-Con next weekend. Well, by the time this posts, this coming weekend.
Yeah.
Very excited to see what's going on there.
Yeah, there's still quite a few announcements that haven't, reared their head yet. So there's some cool stuff coming.
It's an exciting time to be in the toy business.
Too. You got to get really high with the voice. Like, oh, there's some cool stuff.
Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. And have fun in San Diego. Well, have fun at Comic-Con.
Comic-Con's always fun.
Yeah.
Smash that like button if you like Needless Things.